From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hangin web show, it's the legend of the Traveling Tardis. Look inside and behind the scenes at some of the most enduring and beloved science fiction worlds. Step inside the doors to a world that is bigger, brighter, and beyond imagination. And now, join your host, Christian Basel, as you become a part of the legend of the Traveling Tardis.
Hello, fellow Whovians. Welcome back for a new year and a new episode of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show here. And believe it or not, guys, we got a wonderful Christmas present from out in the social media, gang. I'm hoping that some of you are listening to us now on iHeartRadio. We are now part of the iHeartRadio podcast family. And this, we got the announcement, I think it was Christmas Eve. Was it Christmas Eve or the day after Christmas?
Christmas
Eve. I think
Eve.
it was Christmas Eve? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was like, whoa, Santa, hey, thanks a lot. I was very, very excited. Now we are heard throughout the iHeartRadio family, and I'm excited about that. But of course, we are immensely proud about all the social platforms that take care of us. CBS Radio, radio.com. We also have Spotify. We have iTunes. We have, of course, our flagship Krypton Radio, who really takes care of us. So if you can't find us out there, you're just not looking. So welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. And for those of you just joining us, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great trip for what we're going to be doing next, because today we're going to be reviewing the first review of the new year, and I think the only one so far, because this will be the only episode. We're going to do a review of Resolution, and we're going to give our ratings for that. But first, I want to introduce the gang here. Bringing back is Jessica Womack from Song Swan Cosplay on Instagram. Hey, Jessica, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. Coming back as well, and I got to say it this way, an artiste. Maybe say it. An artiste, Melanie Dean.
Hello. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year to you, too. And now, joining us for the very first time, and fellow Whovian, for those of you who may have been on the convention circuit, you may have seen his work, and this name should be very familiar. If not, I'm talking about my good friend Benny Powell, comic book creator and writer, and I'm going to let Benny embellish on some of his works that he's done. Benny, what have you done so far? And I think you've also done a comic book series on a certain famous gaming YouTuber. Take it away there, Benny.
Sure. Hey, nice to be here. Christian and I past, 4 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Great to be here. I keep reminding him, hey, don't forget about me. So,
I mean, this is a good way to start off the New Year's show. I mean, the new show, first episode of the new year.
I can't complain. And I only sign with a sonic screwdriver all my comics. But I started out at Marvel Comics, of all places, back in the mid-'90s during the Age of Apocalypse, and have been writing ever since. I've done for various companies. Most recently, my big thing right now is I'm part of the Absolute Comics group, and we are launching a brand new universe, part of which is, as you say, the Markiplier comic book. It's a 4-part miniseries where literally Markiplier goes through the entire Absolute Comics universe. It's a lot of fun. For those not familiar, Markiplier is like the top dog YouTuber out there. We've known him since he was just Mark, the younger brother to Tom Fishbach, who is also a comic book creator. So he is part of the family. And we also now have a huge mega hit that has just launched called White Widow. And it was a major success on Kickstarter, and it's available everywhere. I believe if not next week, the following week through your local comic book stores, the first issue. So that's really fun. You can also find more info on absolutecomics.net.
So, well, congratulations on White Widow, brother. Big congratulations on that. But we're going to get to that possibly in just a moment. But first, as always, when we start our episodes, we're going to the Who Knew News with Sage Ia. Sage, go for it.
Okay. Happy Who Year, everybody.
Nice.
Yes, I've been dying to say that. So the ratings, of course, that doesn't include all the folks who watched, afterward. But the initial ratings were 5.15 million viewers. It was the fourth highest watched for New Year's Day on the BBC. So a little down from where the finale was, but still very solid for a special.
And I know the haters have come out and started hating upon saying, oh, no, this is not average. Oh, no, this is a special episode. And this is the lowest special episode. I don't know what to say about it because it is, I think, only one time in Doctor Who history that they did a New Year's Eve. I think they did a New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. That was the end of time. Where they did a two-parter. I think they did on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve. But I mean, this is a new experiment on a new day. And I think Chibnall is trying to do... It's one of my criticisms of Chibnall about as being the showrunner. One of the things that I hear a lot about, and I always use this line from Captain Kirk from Undiscovered Country, is people can be very frightened of change. And I think people are still kind of getting over the last episode that, from what a lot of people have told me, it just left a sour taste in their mouth. But I think they may have been, and I don't want to give my rating away, have been a little bit more impressed about this episode that we're going to be talking about shortly there. So does anybody have any concerns about the ratings where we're at right now? 5.15 million viewers.
I think it's going
to... let's move on.
I was going to say, sorry. I was going to say, not me personally, only because I was one of those people who didn't watch it on the day of its release because I had a lot of other things going on with the holiday, so I had to do the whole on-demand thing. So for me, I kind of assumed maybe I'm not an outlier. Maybe I'm part of another little good grouping of people who just had other things to do on that holiday and couldn't get to it yet. My 2 cents.
No, I very much think so, and I agree. I think there's a lot of folks out there, and some folks who are waiting to hear reviews before they went ahead and watched it also. So I think they're going to increase. So, but if you... I was going to say, if you want to, sort of see how the season went, the Doctor Who magazine, the yearbook has come out that covers 2018, and it explores the entire making of Season 11, including interviews where they go episode by episode with some writers and some of the cast and crew. And it's a wonderful overview of the entire season of our 13th Doctor. So that's out there.
What else?
And then also in the Whoniverse, Big Finish is expanding on the Torchwood universe. There's a 4-story box set that is set to come out later this month, and it's The Sins of Captain John, of course, voiced by the wonderful James Marsters.
And for those of you who are not familiar, and God only knows why you wouldn't be familiar with James Marsters, he is Spike from Buffy, or at least known that. I think he's also now part of the Marvel Universe in another episode, in another series or something like that. Anybody want to help me out here? I know there's so much Marvel going on everywhere that I can't even keep track of it anymore.
Yeah, no, it's Marvel Runaways.
Isn't it like the Misfits or something like that?
The Runaways.
The Runaways. I'm sorry. You didn't even say that. Gosh, I'm still,
Yes, the thought was running away with you.
Stuff there. What else do we have in the news there, Sage?
That is all of my Who Knew news, because everything else surrounds the resolution, which you are going to discuss.
There we go there, folks. Okay, we're just going to do a little quick run, and then we'll go to a break. Of course, 10 being the best as far as Traveling Tardises, 1 being the worst episode ever. We'll start with our special guest, Benny. How would you rate Resolution?
At the risk of angering those who really loved it, I am afraid I have to put it at a 3.
Ouch. Okay. Wow. Okay. Not the way I don't think they wanted to start in the new year for the rating there, but let's see. Melanie, what's your rating on Resolution?
Well, to balance out that 3, I'm going to go with a 7. Sorry, Benny.
You give it a 7 there?
I'm going to give it a 7.
And finally, Jessica, how would you rate Resolution?
To my surprise, I'm giving it a 4.
Wow. Okay. All righty.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, the numbers it's 3, 4, 7. So I guess that's where we're going for out there. All right, folks. We're going to take a commercial break and pay some bills. And once I get my stuttering fixed, I will say we're going to go to a commercial break and pay some bills. And we come back. We're going to be going over a review of Doctor Who Resolution when we come back, the New Year's Day special. So stay tuned and stay listening and still to become part of the legend.
Every year, tens of millions of people flock to Florida for its sunny beaches and world-famous tourist attractions. Most never learn about the strange and unusual locations just off the beaten path. From the UFOs of Gulf Breeze to Robert the Haunted Doll in Key West, learn about the myths, monsters, and legends from the dark side of the Sunshine State with author Mark Muncy and illustrator Carrie Schultz in their books Eerie, Florida and Freaky Florida from the History Press. Find them at eerieflorida.com or wherever books are sold.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
Hello, sweeties. I'm Krystal Moore. I play the Doctor in fan series Doctor Who Velocity. You're listening to The Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show.
And folks, welcome back. Thank you for joining us here at the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show, now on iHeartRadio, also on iTunes, Krypton Radio, Spotify, everywhere out there in the known social media universe, Whoniverse, I should say there. I want to welcome back my panelists, Jessica, Melanie, and Benny, who gave rather interesting ratings to the New Year's Day episode, Resolution. Of course, we're going to start off with the lowest number, and that goes to Benny. Benny, why did you rate it a 3? Give us some positives, some negatives, and it looks like mostly negatives, on how you felt about the episode.
Well, bottom line is I think still the same feeling I had at the beginning of this version, is that really the showrunner is still floundering a bit and seems to still be trying to find his voice. There seem to be a lot of recurring tropes, and I don't know whether that's like his signature of like trying to have junkyard tech, for instance, which we saw in obviously the first episode, and when she built her sonic screwdriver, and now again, I don't know how much we want to spoil. Is this all like spoiler?
No. This is the episode, and I guess we'll tell everybody. Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen the episode,
yeah,
and you're listening to a review of it, that's an interesting take. But okay, spoiler alert: we are reviewing Resolution, so we are going to be talking about some stuff about Resolution. So Penny, go ahead. But yeah, you put the blame on Chibnall on this one.
A bit. I mean, I like the actors all seem really, really great. I'm not one of those what I consider weirdos who worry about, for instance, I haven't been able to chime in about the gender thing. I think that was not at all an issue. I mean, there are little things, for instance, when the doorbell rings. Well, the doc and keeps going, oh, is that proximity alert? The doctor knows what a doorbell is at this point, We're
hoping.
It's like, really?
Because
okay.
It was Capaldi who kind of threw in that at some point, and it was Capaldi's time, not him per se, but apparently the doctor can learn and unlearn stuff as they go along. I'm like, well, what's that all about? So they can play an electric guitar, but in the next life they can't do that. So it's just like, this is an interesting take on things. Every dungeon master would probably go nuts over what the heck's going on. Okay, you have that ability, but but next time you won't. So I get what you're saying there.
The thing that really for me, these specials, whether it be Christmas or now for, I guess, the second time, a New Year's episode.
Yeah.
I've always felt that they should be something special. And because that it's in the title, it's
I got
special. And I did not feel like this was anything special. Oh, okay. Like I knew within half a second when they started chopping up the creature that it's going to be a Dalek. And
I think all the social media came up with that there.
Yeah.
So,
so that was not a very big reveal to make it anything, in my opinion, special per se. And so it really it felt very much just like almost like a throwaway episode when it should have been something massive, in my opinion.
But Jessica, I see what Benny's talking about because you rated it a 4. And I kind of see, because the last episode of the series, a lot of people are just like, that's what we're ending on. And I was hoping the New Year's Day special would kick back that, but you guys gave it both a rating. So Jessica, why did you give it a 4?
Many reasons. Some of it was, yeah. I had so
when's the next commercial break?
I know, right? Like, how many? But some of it was, like, the main thing was, I kept thinking about Eleven's quote of, "You gave me hope and then took it away. That's enough to make anyone dangerous." That is how I felt about this episode, because we had said, we miss the classic monsters, and then they're like, yes, we're going to give you this. I'm like, thank goodness. And then it made no sense. None of it. Scientifically, Who lore, like none of it was consistent or consecutive. And just, if you're going to have it be a special, then make it a special. I agree with that. Bring Kate in. We haven't seen her since Bonnie and the Zygons.
And you used about that.
And oh my gosh, and they used it as a punchline to a joke that we didn't get. It was almost as if they forgot to tell the joke and was like, by the way, there it goes. And we were like, what?
Don't make me talk about that so soon.
But it made me so mad because I was like, yes, Kate, bring Kate. That would make this a special, because I feel like the writing is missing out on so much. And I think I finally figured it out, because we'd been chalking it up to not seeing classic monsters because that's what it felt like. But I saw Bumblebee last week, and it was amazing. And you know what made it amazing is they had nods to the old classic 80s film while still creating a new story. And there was definitely, and not just in like, oh, you had all of these particular Transformers. It was that they had nods, and it feels like Chibnall has been doing just a tick list for every episode. It's like, okay, reference to a classic Who, perfect. Then reference to a new Who, got it. Okay, humans are bad, good. Daddy issues, good. Ryan's got a disorder, okay. Graham makes a clever remark, and it's just the same bloody thing. And it drives me insane, because I'm like, we've seen this for 12 other episodes this season, and then now you're trying to throw a Dalek in there, which makes no sense. It honestly felt like Chibnall is writing to deal with some psychological childhood trauma. I couldn't, because I researched to see if I could find anything about his father, because obviously he has daddy issues. Because I didn't care about Ryan's dad this whole time. Like, we've heard about...
Apparently nobody did in that episode.
Oh my gosh.
The doctor walks in dissing Dad.
Yeah, but it was just like,
Jessica,
hear about...
hold that thought, table that thought, because we're going to go into it a lot there, because I need Melanie to come back and rescue it. She gave it the highest score of a 7
One quick second.
Yeah, you go ahead, real quick.
Something she just said that exactly was probably the biggest underlying thing this whole season for me is, I'm a firm believer, Doctor Who has rules to their universe, and this constant like changing of the rules, like how many new abilities did this Dalek have? I mean, that are just out of nowhere, that make no sense. There's no scientific explanation. And it's just like, rules be damned, whatever I want to have happen will happen. And that's not how Doctor Who was kind of always the sci-fi that put the science in science fiction. That was what I always loved about it. And there were always rules to the universe. And
Melanie, I'm running to you right now because these two are dragging me down. Sorry, I'm running to you. No. And trust me, after we get back from the second break, we're definitely going to get into a lot of stuff. But one of the things where, like a billion things we've already mentioned, I'm going to mention soon there. And I'm going to just to tag on your note, Jessica, about that they were hitting tick marks. That's what I felt about Time of the Doctor. They just felt like that Moffat wrote all these things like, oh, it's supposed to be on planet, the biggest clue hidden away in plain sight and stuff like that, and then you're going to be on a planet that doesn't lie. I think people were like writing, okay, I need you to write a story, but have all these weird things happen, and then Moffat had to go on the chalkboard and go, okay, now you can't lie on this planet. It's called Christmas. Da 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 da. Silence will fall. But Melanie, bail us out. Give this episode a 7. Why?
Get the paddles out.
You hush. This is Melanie's turn.
Oh, good Lord. Okay, so let's see. I have to try thinking the positive things and not the negative things here. Why I give it a 7?
Well, no, you don't get negative. But just,
because you know what? I will start with the little negative things. I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna go backwards here. The last point of it kind of being a new Dalek. That it was a scout Dalek and that it had different powers, that kind of thing made me have my eyebrow raised a little. I was like, Chibnall, why must you put stamp on things? That one kind of went.
Let me hold you right there because this has been driving me insane.
Okay.
Does not Planet Earth know what a Dalek is by this point in its time?
Thank you.
Does nobody know what a Dalek is after everything? After Torchwood 1? After everything, nobody knows what a Dalek is?
Doomsday, when they're all flying in the sky.
Yeah.
I'm just, okay, back. So, I asked the question. Go ahead, go back.
I rather enjoyed Unit being a bit of a punchline. At that point, I had to just laugh knowing what's going on with the world as it is now, and how something extremely important, where they even kind of had the nice little telemarketer receptionist lady kind of pause when the Doctor was kind of in a when was the last time that the world needs saving? And she kind of went, well, because you have to think about think about it, every other Christmas there's an alien invasion. Everybody knows that there's aliens now on planet Earth. No one doesn't realize this. And then to your point, everybody knows about Daleks. And everyone basically knows about Cybermen. How many times have they shown up? But I thought that was kind of funny with Unit just being, oh yeah, we're just going to we don't have the funding. And we're like, wait, what? I think the reason that writing-wise, why they kind of fleshed it out as big as it did, as much as they did, is here you have a situation where the Doctor's kind of thinking, we need help. We need to call somebody. We need other help. I thought that all the ways that they were trying to track the Dalek when it was the chick in the police car and it's blowing away all the different cameras, and they're trying to do the satellite, and they're trying to go over to, and they're at that point where the Doctor's kind of in, okay, we need help. What Unit? And just kind of finding out, yeah, it's not been funded. I'm kind of glad that they didn't just make it one little line and then made it a throwaway. I like the fact that it just got to the point where the Doctor was just frustrated and hung up because she was just like, we're on our own.
Okay, I'm going to say something in retrospect to this, because at this point, I meant of all the people throughout the entire universe, out of time and space, she makes one phone call and gives up. I was sitting there going like, why didn't she just... maybe she could not recruit Unit, but she could recruit Kate. She could have gotten... wow, how did I forget her name?
Sarah Jane?
Sarah Jane.
I know that we've lost her, but not in this universe.
No, but I get that at this point, you don't want... I think as a plot point, you don't want the Doctor getting to a point where she really is out of her head and now needs to go find the person that is better than her, and then she starts going down a laundry list. I think.
No. I would even done one better. I would have gone after Kate and just said, I know Unit's not there anymore, but I need your help. And then she recruits some people from Unit to help her out to fight this Dalek, even though Unit does not exist.
Well, it seems like Unit still does kind of, because the Dalek looked it up on the Black Archive, which doesn't make sense because Kate made sure that it wasn't electronic so the Doctor couldn't hack it. So I don't know how the Dalek hacked the Black Archives, because obviously they still exist, because that's what it said on the web thing.
Right,
but like, if the Black Archive still exists, then Kate still exists, and maybe they're not getting funding from the government, but she still has resources.
Right. I think it was just a loophole that Chibnall had to close, and he had to close quickly, because otherwise this episode could become, a 3-parter. If you kept
But it's a special. But it's a special. It's supposed
I would have
to
let
be
it
epic.
just to bring her in and bring the team. I think it would have. I think it would have really raised the stakes.
I would have loved that.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing too. They introduced this mystic order. These people who, first off, I don't know how they're going to procreate just standing there in Siberia and on a desert island alone to have ancestors. But let's put that leap of logic aside. Where did those people go? It's just it was kind of a cool little nugget, and it's like such a throwaway.
Yeah.
And this is my biggest complaint about Chibnall himself, because he keeps on pushing away the classic series in some form of fashion. I'm just like, no. This is your chance to do. You can bring back Osgood, bring back somebody from the past, because I think this is what makes Doctor Who so wonderful, is that with the 50+ years of Doctor Who that you have, first of all, there is no way you can't tell me you can't go back in the past and find some, obscure monster and bring him back, or bring her back. There is always you have a treasure trove of history, and for once, I actually, I don't want to give the rating, but I appreciated this episode because I got to see a classic villain in its form, per se. But I'm like, why do you want to disavow the things?
And for me, I like the fact that this had a classic monster, but I also really like the fact it was just the Doctor and her team going after and winning, and winning the day against this classic monster. Not that she had to call in everybody and had to have more and more people on Team TARDIS. Which for this episode, dovetailing into another part of positivity, I felt that this was really the most cohesive the team was. Mm-hmm. And that they had equal parts, that everybody kind of did their own, did their heavy lifting. And I even like the fact that Graham had they forgot him. I liked how he's sitting there with Aaron, and they're like, did they leave me? What the and you could see that he was kind of angry at that.
Yeah,
that kind of presented a really good scene between him and Aaron, with Graham just grabbing all of Aaron's stuff and kind of showing that, to me, this was a really poignant part of the episode, was showing that Grace had kept every single thing, because that's what a mother or a parent does. And that you could see that little by little, you really, when Aaron first showed up, you hated him just like everybody else. Heck, I loved how Graham just kind of closed the door and like, no thanks, and just moved on.
Right.
But I liked how for the arc of this, here was a character we all knew about but never met, and then we finally get to meet Aaron, and that he had a little bit of a redemption story. Well, and quite frankly, his own resolution was to be a little bit better. And at the end, I really loved how you could see that Ryan, when he's going to be faced losing this guy that he's completely hated for quite some time, and he starts, I love you, Dad, and he, is doing his best to fight his own disability, and grab him and get him back in.
Well, you know what? I think we're going to pause right there, because I think when we return, we're going to have more about some daddy issues. That was the worst segue I've ever done in my entire life. We're gonna pay some bills, and when we return, we're gonna be continuing our review of Resolution. When we come back, stay tuned and still continue to listen to become part of the legend.
From the imagination of author Kevin J. Kessler, the Rosinante dragons are no more. They have fallen into the obscurity of lore. Now warrior Valentine Beret and Seraphina, magically gifted princess are on a mission to save the world of Terra. Together, they must face the Rosinante legacy and combat the greatest threat their world has ever known. In the end, who is stronger, the man or the dragon? Find out in Kevin J. Kessler's The Rosinante series on Amazon.com today.
Best-selling and award-winning author of true crime and crime fiction, Yvonne Mason is back with a brand new book, The Pink Canary, a book that delves into the life of a drag queen and a marvelous whodunit. You can find this and all of Yvonne's other works on Amazon.com, or find Yvonne Mason on Facebook and Twitter.
He's gonna kill me.
Buy your copy of Pink Canary now.
Channeling the Mothership is an exciting journey into the higher mysteries. Certified psychic medium and clairvoyant Jerry McDaniel's readings, writings, and messages have been received by thousands of people in more than 45 countries. These messages have been obtained by channeling his higher self. How does he do it? Is it a blessing or a curse? And what lay beyond the reach of your five senses? Channeling the Mothership. Explore the mysteries of the spiritual and the metaphysical. Channeling the Mothership by author Jerry McDaniel. Available on Amazon.com today.
And folks, thanks for joining us back with us at the Legend of the Traveling Tardis radio show. My name is Christian Basel. I'm here with my panelists, Jessica, Melanie, and Benny. And we're going to go a little deeper into our father issues with this episode, Doctor Who Resolution. And Jessica, I know you had more daddy issues.
Oh my gosh.
Who's your daddy? Yeah, go ahead. The floor is yours. Go for it.
Well, my main thing was, like, after watching this episode, like, we'd always heard about Ryan's dad and how a crap father he is, and it was just that cliche, and that was fine. You know, there are a lot of people who do have parents who don't step up, and you do have a lot of emotional baggage that goes along with that, which was always a defining character thing for Ryan and everything like that. But in trying to kind of throw it into this episode, it didn't feel like it fit. I felt like we needed more of a segue, like getting to know his father more before you're like, oh, I want to be better. And I'm like, I didn't believe it. I actually thought he was a Trojan horse for the Daleks, and the toaster oven he gave them was literally going to disarm the TARDIS, which I thought would have been brilliant.
I think for a device, as far as a character, yeah, he just kind of filled in the gaps for where the writing just couldn't, you know. You
could take him out of it, and you could literally just put his bit with Ryan, have the Dalek attached to him, nothing would change. Have Yaz grab him instead.
No, I totally get it. I think there should have been more of a backstory, and we were just getting the backstory from everybody who was berating him, and maybe that was the emotional grab of what we were supposed to get with the father. That we feel this guy is total trash until the very end, until he makes the right decision. But I just didn't, it kind of just was rushed.
It was like they were trying to make it emotional, and it didn't get there because we didn't have a well-rounded story. Because people like that, people who leave you, they lie to you when they need something. So the whole time I'm like, okay, so what does he need? What does he want? Because he's not there for that. And then they tried to make it this whole, like, everything has a happy ending. And I'm like, that's not how real life is. And I know Chibnall's wanting it more family-friendly and everything, but I know he said in interviews as well that he wants it to be emotionally mature. And I'm like, that's, and what's the other word? Emotionally intelligent. And this just felt like, I know it's meant to have kids watch it.
He just filled in plot holes to the thing. I was like, oh, I have this microwave. I have this. Oh, yeah, I have this Dalek on my back, and I'm going to make an... I get what Chibnall was trying to do, but he didn't give himself enough leeway to make it so emotional. So that moment when he's at the doors with that Dalek on his back, Stractum, like,
I didn't care.
Noble, the bug. I didn't either, because it's just...
And I wanted to care.
Yeah, they kind of just...
And I wanted to care.
They kept berating him as being a bad and horrible dad, and I'm just like, when he's at the door, I'm like, okay, take the Dalek with you. I actually thought he was going to go with the Dalek.
I would have loved that, because at least then Ryan would be emotional, and it would actually kind of be sad. Because I wanted to feel something, and I felt nothing in this episode, because we were told to care about him. We weren't actually led to actually care about him and his relationship with Ryan at all. And I know the conversation with Graham was supposed to also help, and I don't know if it's the lack of music or what, because I'm sorry, Murray Gold can take your heart with any of that music that he writes. And this season has been lacking Murray Gold's touch. But at the same time, you know, anytime he was on scene and they tried to do emotional things, I'm like, you're forcing it. Nothing felt authentic. It felt like they were just trying to wrap it up so he could be a plot device later.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest criticisms, as I said, is everything seems so frenetic. It's almost like it as a writer, what I start with is an outline. Mm-hmm. And I can often recognize whenever I see a writer who is just, they've got an idea, they've got a lot of things they want to do, and then when they get to the end, they're like, and, you know, it's the hand of God that sets off the nuke, or it's a spider, not to pick on Stephen King, but he's quite famous for literally saying he does not outline. And this feels the same way, and what you end up having is great. You can often have good story, and then all of a sudden a jumbled mess to rush to an ending, and that's how a lot of this whole season has felt. Which, you know, I don't. It's not.
And not to just hate on Chibnall, because that was like the last 2 seasons of Moffat as well, is they had such great build-ups, and then at the end it was like, did you not plan this out? What? You know, they wrapped it up in 30 seconds and everything was fine. And that's what drove me crazy with the more recent things of Moffat as well.
Yeah. But Melanie, here's the thing. As far as showrunners concerned, and every time I've read an article or seen an interview with Moffat, and in this particular case, when I read an article on Chibnall, they kind of bring it in saying that, I don't know if it's not being humble or something like that, but they're almost saying like, oh, you're going to love the ending. You're going to really like it. This is what we're coming up with. And then when the ending comes, you're like, what was that all about? And Chibnall said the same thing. This is going to be very epic. This is going to be an epic story. I think he was in the right direction, but I don't think he executed it properly.
I think the parts where he needed to be a little bit more heavier-handed, he was far too subtle. Mm-hmm. And I think that where he would probably think that seeing it as epic, it was just too subtle and kind of people missed it. For me, I thought that to kind of lend an epic kind of part to it, a few times when the Dalek goes onto Aaron's back and is threatening that he's going to kill him, all kind of fun stuff. There's at least, I want to say it was either 3 or 4 times, Ryan is looking at the Doctor saying, save my dad. He vocalizes, save my dad. Doctor, save my dad. Doctor, you have to save my dad. And he says it repeatedly. And usually they don't put lines over and over and over where you're going to have an actor perform that constantly. But he says it very quietly. It was kind of subtle. And then at the end, here you have not the Doctor really save the dad, because she ended up having to open up that little, I forget what the heck it was called, the thing to the supernova, how she had first made it squid-sized, but then she had to open it up to get him out. So in reality, she didn't save the dad. It was Ryan who ended up saving the dad. And I think on paper, or you're just kind of going with that outline, that is pretty epic. In Ryan finally goes over his disability. He's the one that saves his dad after 3 or 4 times. He's, imploring the Doctor, this alien who has all this technology to save the father against this gigantic, this Dalek, the big bad of the Hooniverse. Mm-hmm. Ryan's the one that saves it. And again, on an outline and me saying this, you could say, oh, that's really epic. But then we lost in the storytelling. You're not going to get that. It was far too subtle. So maybe that's how somebody is writing, and for Chibnall to write that, thinking, yeah, this is going to be epic. But then after you got through the editing and everything,
the execution fell short.
The execution fell short. Yes.
And let's face it, it started out with an epic setup. It's a very standard setup. Pieces being spread across the world, the 3 corners of the world. Epic implies journey, a large journey. I mean, the classic example, of course, being The Lord of the Rings, which people joke about is, you got a movie with a bunch of walking.
The second movie is walking to the third.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a giant treadmill.
That's the definition of epic. And where was the epic in this? It started out showing us that it's going to be epic, and I honestly got a little excited. I was like, okay, it's a little tropey, but we're gonna have a globe-trotting episode. Nope, not so much.
Same, and I don't know if I dislike it more just because there was such a build-up, there was such anticipation, and then it fell short. Because that might be what it is, because you're calling it a special, you're setting it up grandly, you're giving us a classic monster finally, and there just wasn't a payoff. There wasn't something to make it amazing, to make it epic. It just felt like any old episode. They never even questioned why the Doctor doesn't like the Daleks. They're just like, they're really bad. And they're like, oh, okay.
Well, let me rearrange the building blocks over here, because one of the things that I loved about this episode was Lynn. And the most dangerous weapon in the universe happens to be a hybrid Dalek human going about. And I thought this was like when the show went badass. I'm like, what? When did this happen? Yeah. This is awesome. And the girl who played Lynn, Charlotte Ritchie, I mean, wow, damn.
She was fabulous.
Her arc was awesome. As the Dalek kept making her more and more, she's succumbing to the evil where she's no longer in control. She played that amazing.
What if she was the one holding the door at the very end?
Yeah.
And that Dalek was on her. Do you think the dynamic would have been different than having Ryan's dad show up?
Probably. I cared more about her.
And I think that's the case. And I think that's what was missing about Ryan's dad, because they were bashing him so much that we didn't get the build up to get a little more hard on him to see how much he, really appreciated Ryan and his life.
And once again, I might be a cynic, but I don't believe them when they say that, because how old is Ryan, and how long has he been vacant for that long? When someone comes back, they want something. If that's their MO, at least that's. And so even if he was being honest in that moment, that doesn't mean tomorrow he would have the same feeling. So once again, I didn't care.
I think for Ryan, he was finally having that hope realized. So for him growing up, and you're always kind of hoping that your dad comes back, and you're hoping that your dad, you reconnect, and you wish that you had I think for him coming back, it wasn't that he knew, oh, my dad's back. I think for him being an adult, realizing my dad's back, and there's actually a tangible hope that we can start on a path to reconnecting. And I think that's what he was really trying, to save his father. Is he doesn't want to lose a jerk of a father. He doesn't want to lose that shred of hope that things can get better.
But they developed Lynn so well, especially with the Dalek and that relationship that started between Mitch and Lynn, that I thought the stakes were even higher, and we cared about it, especially that scene. And I'm going to say this for the very first time. We finally, for me, saw the space god come out when Lynn's image just shows up in the TARDIS, and the Doctor is saying, Lynn, hold on, take care. I finally got to see a little bit of what I've been missing, but not strong enough.
Yeah, I did like the fact that when it was the Dalek, the Doctor kind of had that vibe of, I wanted you to see my face when I say this. I really liked that. And then when the Dalek kind of went away and she's talking to Lynn, you could see that Jodie took it from the way of her being a serious, and then taking the Doctor and shifted it to, here's all the hope in the world. I keep fighting. You got this. Keep fighting. And then when the Dalek came back, Doctor switched right back to, that God.
Well, here's my thing of it. If you can rebuild your sonic screwdriver in an old warehouse, I guess you can rebuild your Dalek too. Especially one with half the calories.
What is he the blacksmith showrunner?
As funny and as quirky and as weird and silly as that Dalek was, when those Dalek bumps opened to reveal those missiles, all of a sudden I geeked out hard. I was just like, oh my god, this is a really badass Dalek.
The only part that made me go, wait.
Dalek.
When it flew away, that was the part where I went, okay, hold on. The Dalek has human strength, But you were able to make a pepper pot. Sorry, that was my pen flying. And you were able to make the pepper pot body. You were able to use dalakium, and I always say that word wrong, and auto metals, and you did all that. But then the jet propulsion thrusters, I'm like, wait, huh? That was my own little, okay, wait a second.
Yeah, the same thing with that, and whenever she made the sonic screwdriver, I'm like going, wouldn't there be like materials that would not be readily available in someone's house?
Hey, I guess with all that information he got, he had.
But I feel like what would even have been better is if he had gone to the junkyard initially, got a base for it, and gone on elsewhere to get the missiles and stuff. Because once again, I was like, where did he get the missiles from?
I didn't care at that point. But anyway, speaking of missiles, I'm just like, wow, damn, this is great. Anyway, speaking of which, folks, we're going to take a break and again pay some bills that we need to get taken care of. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about our resolutions for the new year. And hopefully one of them is going to be your resolution for the new year. Stay tuned and continue to listen and become part of the legend.
Grab some altitude and adventure together at Pound the Grape. It's all about an adventure above the crowd. There's always something different happening there, from painting to food pairings to dancing. But one thing's rock solid, people sharing incredible wines from around the world. And if that's not what puts Lift under your wing, try their craft beer. Grab some altitude and adventure at Pound the Grape. Find more at poundthegrape.com. Poundthegrape.com. Pour a glass of adventure.
From some of today's best-selling, award-winning authors comes 22 page-turning tales, Cursed Lands.
Cursed Lands will lead you through one doomed world after another in a haunting dystopian urban fantasy.
Join the courageous as they battle for survival across worlds where fae, vampires, angels, witches, and more roam freely.
Cursed Lands is coming soon on Apple Books, Kobo, and Nook.
Pre-order your copy for just 99 cents today.
How you doing, everybody? This is KG Bethlehem. I'm an author of a new book called Certain Moments of Time. It's a collection of short stories. These short stories range from post-apocalyptic, dystopian, anti-utopia, as well as general fiction. You can find Certain Moments of Time on sale at Amazon.com, where you can purchase the ebook format as well as paperback format. You can also purchase it at Lulu.com, paperback format, and will be on sale soon at BarnesandNoble.com.
Hey folks, welcome back to Legend of the Traveling Tardis, where we're wrapping up our New Year's Day resolution special. Also, just want to let you know that we may be bringing this into, we're just testing out a new topic over here. We're going to be bringing in our Legend of the Traveling Tardis polls, and today's poll, actually yesterday's poll as we're recording this, the question came up, do you or do you not like the episode resolution? 41 of you voted. Not too many people voted because the episode had just come out and not many people had gotten a chance to vote on it. But 30 people did like the episode and 11 disliked it out of the 41. So interesting takedown there. Guys, any final thoughts on resolution? And I'm going to start with our guest, Benny. Your final thoughts.
I know it seems like I've been very negative on this. The bottom line is I want to say I always want to like and love every Doctor Who. And it's not that I have really such a high litmus test or high bar that I hold the standard to. At the end of the day, I want them to either be thought-provoking or fun. And this one really didn't hit either one of those two ticker points for me. And that's something like, I know some people dog on the Moffat, some of the Moffat Christmas specials. I loved almost every single one of them because they were at least fun. This one just it just felt like an episode that I will probably forget.
Melanie, 1 minute final thought on resolution.
Final thought would be, I really did like this episode. I thought I had a bit of mystery. I thought I had a bit of cat and mouse with the chase. I thought all of the acting performances were very strong. But that being said, I have to say, I really did like this as an episode. If I saw now ranking this more or less towards a special, that's where it kind of, for me, didn't get that 8, 9, 10 upper echelon kind of rating. As an episode, I thought it was solid. But yeah, that when you want to take that apart and take it out of a regular little series and go, okay, this is a special, ranking it against other Christmas specials, it's going to go a little lower for me. But as an episode and to dovetail it, at the end of the rest of the season, I liked it.
Jessica, you get a 1-minute final thought, and in this episode, you will get to hear a Dalek laugh. Never heard one before, I guess.
I know. Oh, gosh. Well, as soon as it happened, I was like, that's a Dalek laughing. I know what that is. Final thoughts is just it gave me hope and took it away. And I was just really sad of that because I wanted that epicness and I wanted that. It's called resolution, so there should be actual resolution that's epic, not just, oh, we fixed everything and put a bow on it. And that's how this one felt. I wanted to have some type of emotion evoked. And honestly, I didn't have anything. I think I was stoic almost the whole entire episode. When I was just very sad of that because I just wanted more.
Gotcha. Sage, what was my number?
You had an 8.
Whoa!
Yay!
But after talking to you guys, it kind of dropped to a 6.
I'm sorry. Go back and watch it and enjoy it.
No, it's okay.
What was your favorite points that we didn't bring up?
Well, I mean, you guys really brought up the challenges of this episode. I really gave this episode, I think, more of an expectation because I love the scene with Lynn. I really thought he raised the stakes by having this little Dalek thing hybrid. The challenges that I had was Ryan's dad. I don't know what he was there for. I don't know if he was a device. This should have been a 2-part episode where there should have been like flashbacks of Ryan and his dad, Aaron, about where things went wrong and some kind of thing where it escalates to where things go right. One of my favorite lines in this episode was from, of all the people, it's Graham. And it's, family isn't about DNA or a name. It's about what you do, and you haven't done it enough. And that was actually my
favorite part. I will say that.
I agree. Yeah, exactly. That I needed to see more of Aaron and his road to redemption. And I think that's where you get the title Resolution. That for me, for this episode. And plus we had, Slim Jim Dalek coming out over there with a missile. I think I gave it a higher rating because I saw missiles on a Dalek and I was like, yes.
Bring it on.
You saw a Dalek fighting the military. That was really pretty cool.
It was like pull out the Ginsu knives any day and just go mad with people. I'm just like, but I wanted to see more of Lynn because I thought the story was more of Lynn and her challenges with this Dalek on her back. And I think Chibnall knows how to write for families. Chibnall knows how to write for drama. Chibnall does not know how to write for science fiction. And I think that's what's hard about that. And he really had something. I think that's why I gave it a higher number. This is my favorite episode as far as the entire series of Jodie. I think this should have been the first episode. I think this should have been I think this should have been because we finally saw Jodie become the space god with that scene with Lynn. I wanted to see those quirks, and he didn't get, or at least maybe the director didn't give her enough. Who directed it again? It was Wayne Yip. I think he should have given some challenges because if they can write Jodie to do some wonderful and magnificent things with her doctor and really challenge it based upon the drama and the comedy and going back and forth like all of her predecessors done. And I know people have been going like, well, that's just her choice. And I say, if it's her choice, then she doesn't really understand the role. And especially from her predecessors now, not just classic, but Capaldi, Smith, Tennant, Eccleston. I wanted to see her emulate those guys and bring something of her own, but not forget she is the space god with the Time War on her back, with all this baggage of being around for 2,000 some odd years and having to be the person to stand up and fight when crap hits the wall. She's got to be the one to clean it off. And apparently a Dalek hit a wall, and that was the nastiness that we saw. I think I gave it a high mark because I saw a lot of things that Chibnall should have done from day one. And I thought this should have been the tester one, and he should have written other stuff that should have emulated this. And if he keeps this up and improves it in the 2020 year, I think we're going to see a lot more people interested, not only in Jodie, but the long-term run of Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. But Chibnall has to make the move to do that. And I think also, finally, he went back and said, listen, I'm going to pull back a classic monster. And he used it pretty well. But he was so involved with writing a drama that he forgot to write the sci-fi part. And he just ended with Lynn getting the thing off her. I wanted that to be the very end. And I think that should have been the resolution. But that's just me. So, anyway, guys, what is your New Year resolution? Our guest, Benny, just you got a minute left. Give us what you're doing for the new year in 2020.
I am writing nonstop.
That's what all comic book artists do.
I mean,
I know you got new Markiplier coming out, and you've got and White Widows coming out. So
there are literally the entire Absolute Comics line. There are 9 titles. I'm the creator and/or writer of about 8 of those. So,
Melanie, what's your New Year's resolution?
Funny enough, paint more. I've got tons of canvases. I'm going to be an artiste, and I'm going to travel to more cons and sell my paintings and my wares. But honestly, resolution is to really try to focus more on commission works and try to get a lot more acrylics done before conventions, and try to only have to do finishing work while at a convention and not, start from scratch and pray that I can get it to a talent to sign it before they leave, which I did this year with Capaldi. with 5 minutes left. Get rid of that stress.
Jessica, what's your New Year's resolution?
I have 2. I'm training for a half marathon in April, so I'm going to be running that. It's Star Wars, so of course it's going to be fun.
Yay! That's a great race.
I know. And then I'm really bad at social media, so I'm really hoping to post a lot more of my cosplays, because I've got a ton in backstock, but I don't post them because I'm really bad at social media. I'm a 90-year-old woman. Like, it's bad.
Just don't. As long as you don't learn how to social media from Trump, you'll be good.
No. I have a filter.
Man. Can we just have? I had a full episode of Trump. Don't know. Yeah. Okay, we're done. Anyway, folks. I know we know. Anyway, folks. We want to thank you for listening with us. We hope. And we want you to make the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show your New Year's resolution. I want to thank iHeartRadio for picking us up, and all the social media platforms who've had us for quite some time, from the very beginning. Our friends at Krypton Radio, Spotify, iTunes, you name it, whoever's out there, CBS Radio. I also want to thank my friends over at the Hanging With Web show. You got to check them out. I wanted you to listen to Garrett, of Sage, and Dina, and of course Cosplay Michael, and our new friends over at the Justice Watchtower, run by our good other panelists, Kevin J. Kessler, who couldn't be here. Check out his books and everything. Check out Pieces of Melee. Check out Song Swan on Instagram. Check out my friend Benny with Wayward Sons and White Widow and the Markiplier series and all of that. Folks, make us your New Year's resolution, and we're going to make sure that we make you ours as we're going to conventions. And the first convention that we're going to be going to just in a few weeks is the Central Florida Comic-Con, located in Lakeland, Florida. It's on the 19th and 20th. Check it out. We have the website on, and we'll have the website on the links down below. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Appreciate everything that you've done. I know we've got a ton of new listeners before the new year came through, and we want to welcome you all. Check out all of our classic episodes, and we want you to continue and to be part of the legend.